Hi, welcome to Quick Business Tips. I'm Jennifer Swineford, founder of Limitless Impact Agency, and this is the podcast for service-based business owners who want to grow their business without losing the heart behind it. Every week, I'm bringing you real practical strategies on marketing, sales, and customer experience. No fluff, no hustle culture nonsense, just what works. So let's get into it. I want to ask you something, but you need to answer it honestly. When was the last time you sat down to create social media content for your business and felt good about the process? Now, I'm not asking when was the last time you got it done. When was the last time you felt good about it? Because if you're like most service-based business owners I work with, content creation falls into one of three groups. The first group is you avoid it. You know you should be posting. You open the app, you stare at it for a few minutes, you close it, you tell yourself you do it tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month. Group number two, you binge it. You get inspired, you post every day for 2 weeks. Then you run out of ideas or energy or time, and you disappear for about a month. The last category, you follow some content calendar template that tells you to post motivational Monday quotes, throwback Thursday photos, but none of it sounds like you or says anything that your ideal client needs to hear. If this sounds familiar, today's episode is for you because I'm going to give you the content system that I use myself and with my clients. It's built on frameworks that work and fits into the life of a business owner, salesperson who has real work to get done, but needs to produce content that sounds like you because it comes from you. Before I get into the system itself, I want to talk about the real problem behind social media content and why most people avoid it. Because a lot of people are misdiagnosing it. Most commonly, people say that they don't have enough time, they don't know what to say, or they're just not disciplined enough. And these are symptoms, to be sure. But the underlying problem is usually one of two things. One, you're starting from a blank page every single time. Every post is its own creative exercise that starts from scratch with no framework, no bank of ideas, no systems. Just you, a blank piece of paper, and the sense that you should be writing something. That's exhausting. And it's certainly not a discipline problem, it's a system problem. Now, the second problem is your content isn't connected to anything. You post random tips, random behind the scenes, random motivation, posts that get a few likes and then disappear without ever moving anyone closer to trusting you or hiring you. When you're creating social media content without strategy, it just becomes noise. And even consistent noise just isn't going to get you where you want to be. So the system that I'm going to share with you today solves both of these problems. It gives you a repeatable process so you're never starting from a blank piece of paper, and a framework so that every piece of content you're creating is doing something. It's going to build trust, communicate value, and move your ideal client closer to hiring you. Now, the framework that I lean on most heavily for content and really a lot of my marketing work is Donald Miller's StoryBrand framework. And if you're not familiar with it, the core idea is this. Your customer is the rock star in this story. Your business is not. Your customer has a problem and they're looking for help. You are the guide that helps them find their success. And when I create content through that lens, every post starts with the customer. It's their problem, their goal, their world, not my credentials, not what I do. And that change is going to make a difference for how your content lands. Instead of, here's what we do, you turn it into, here's the problem that you're probably dealing with. Instead of, here are our credentials, it becomes, here's what success can look like for you. Instead of hire us, turn it into, here's the first step you can take today. Now, the story brand thinking keeps content from being this self-promotional, ego-centered nonsense. And it anchors every single piece of content into something that your ideal client is going to care about. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to Donald Miller's book, Building a Story Brand. It's one of the most useful marketing books out there for service business owners. Now, Donald Miller also teaches a five-piece framework that use the letters PEACE, peace. And it really is about sound bites that work in conjunction with StoryBrand framework to give you a complete, repeatable content structure. He describes it as being the steps leading up to your front porch. If somebody were to think of your house as the business. Now, I use this a lot with my own client, with my own content and my clients' content. And what I love about it is that it is a complete arc. So when you use every single one of these pieces, you've taken someone from, I have a problem, all the way through to, I can see my life through the lens of success that I can get by using this company to help me solve the problem. So I'm going to walk you through each of the five letters. The P stands for problem. So you want to name the exact pain point or obstacle that your potential client is facing. You don't want to be vague here. This is really a specific version of the problem. So for a contractor, you might say, most homeowners don't find out their contractor has overbooked them until the project is already 3 weeks behind schedule. Or a realtor might say, the biggest mistake first-time home buyers make happens before they even look at their first house. And most agents never warn them about it. Problem content creates instant recognition. So if your ideal client sees the post, they immediately think, that's exactly what I'm dealing with. And suddenly you become the person who understands them. Now, the first E is for empathy. You want to acknowledge that the customer is feeling something, frustration, pain, something. And this is the I get it kind of content. It's not advice, it's not solutions. It's more of a I see you, this is hard, and it makes sense that you feel this way. You're not alone. So for a landscaper, it might be something along the lines of, if you've put off your backyard remodel for the last 3 years, because every time you think about it, you don't know where to start, we understand. Most people have no idea what's possible until they see it in front of them. Now, most service businesses will skip this first E for empathy completely because it feels soft, and it isn't. Empathy is what builds the emotional connection that makes someone choose you over a lower price competitor. Because people tend to hire people that make them feel understood. A is for answer. You want to present your product or service as the simple, clear solution to the problem. Not a list of features, not your full service menu. One clear answer to the problem you just named. So an answer might be something like, that's exactly why we built our project communication system. So you always know what's happening, what's next, and who to call if you have a question. This type of content lands harder if someone sees it after problem and empathy, because now the viewer is feeling understood and the solution is being offered to someone who's ready to receive. So it's not like these posts need to all be individual posts. You can put a lot of this content into one post. You can mix and match. The C in P stands for change. You want to describe the positive change that your clients will experience after they work with you. This has nothing to do with the service itself. It's how their life looks after they've used your service, not we'll renovate your kitchen. Instead, you finally have the space to host Sunday dinners you've been putting off for years. Not we'll help you find a home. Instead, it's you'll stop feeling guilty every time your kids ask for their own room. This type of change content speaks to an emotional outcome, the version of the life that they're buying when they hire you. And this is connected to a lot of the stuff that we talked about 4 episodes back, the psychographics and emotional triggers of your ideal client. If you missed it, make sure you refer back there. The last E in peace stands for the end result. This is where you're going to paint a complete picture of the successful outcome. Show them what it looks like when everything is put together the way it's supposed to be. This is where testimonials before and afters and really specific detailed client stories live. This is the bucket. This is not your vague, you'll get great results. You want to paint a visual story that shows them that you've been able to transform other people. Something like, here's a family that came to us with a kitchen. They were embarrassed to show anyone. And today, here's what they said when they handed over when we handed them back their keys. The end result content is going to close the story circle that we started when we first laid out the problem. It takes everything that you said from problem, empathy, answer, transformation, and sets it in concrete. So that's a piece framework that you can use when you're creating social media. These can be 5 completely separate content buckets, or you can mix and match, as I said before. But rotating through these consistently is what will allow you to never have to stare at a blank piece of paper again. Now, here's one more thing that's become one of the most favorite parts of my own content creation practice, and something that I haven't heard a lot of other people teach. This is the everyday illustration habit. Some of the most powerful content that I've created, the kind that makes people stop mid-scroll, gets shared, and sparks conversation, doesn't come from sitting at a desk and thinking about your business. It comes from paying attention to everyday life and noticing what lessons you're learning about your business that you could share. So I go on a lot of walks with my very adorable 8-month-old puppy. And I like to make note of things. Maybe it's a sign in a shop window, the way a coffee shop handles a long line of customers, or the difference between 2 restaurants that are sitting right next to each other, and one is packed, but the other one is empty. Or sometimes when I'm going out and eating at restaurants, I'll pay special attention to hospitality. What made me feel like a valued guest? What made me feel more like a transaction? And what could have been done differently? And my favorite thing to do is to experience marketing as a consumer, the good and the bad, and ask myself, where is there a lesson here? I make a quick note. Sometimes it's a verbal note. Sometimes it's actually pulling out my phone and sending myself a text message. Whatever is convenient for me. One sentence, a bullet point, maybe I'll snap a picture just to make sure that I capture the idea before it disappears, because I'm in my 40s and ideas are disappearing super fast. But some of my most outside of the box content, the kind that makes people think differently about something that they may have always taken for granted, almost always starts with these kind of everyday observations. So when your walk becomes a post about why consistency beats intensity, or a restaurant experience becomes a post about how your onboarding sets the tone for the entire client relationship, um, this makes posting on social media so much easier. And for me, it's making it a lot more fun because everyone's world is full of illustrations. You just have to get into the habit of noticing them. So one practical tip that I would give you is to make sure that you have a place to keep all of your ideas. Whenever they pop into your mind, just a place where you can jot it down super quick. The easiest way for me is to just send myself a text because then it's like all in one chain. But you will be surprised how quickly you start compiling a list of ideas once you get in a habit of taking note of them. And that will make your social media content so much richer and so much more you because it's going to draw from your own real life instead of templated, frameworked type of messages. Now we can talk about the batch processing itself. And this is how I manage my social media without letting it consume my life. I like to sit down and write all the posts for 1 week. On occasion, I will sit down and write posts for 2 weeks, but I find that if I want to sit down and just sit for 2 hours and write posts that will schedule out everything for an entire month, my brain doesn't want to cooperate. I don't keep a rigid schedule. It's not like every Monday at 8 a.m. I sit down and figure out what I'm going to post for the rest of the week. It's not like that at all. But I do have a bit of a rhythm because I find that when I have a super rigid schedule, then there's a lot of room for failure. But a rhythm is, or a routine is something that allows for flexibility. So the first thing I do is I open up my notes and look at, what things captured my attention in the last few weeks. Is there anything worth turning into content? I look over my piece categories and what I've been posting lately and what needs a little more attention. I want to make sure that I'm taking my audience through a full journey as they read my posts and not just camping out all on empathy or all on problem. I find that if I write the words first, this is going to be the hook, the core message, the call to action, because that call to action is super important. Then creating the graphics to support the words becomes a lot easier. I like to use Canva for my visuals. I use some templates that I've already built out, especially if it's going to be a client testimonial. And it's not because templates are for cutting corners, but I do want to have a consistent visual branding for a lot of my posts. Not to the point where like all my posts always look the same, because then I've noticed other people do this and I'm like, oh, I've already seen this post. I haven't. The words have changed, but everything else looks the same. And so it kind of all gets lost. But I do want my audience to recognize that this is me, my content. These are my brand colors. So from start to finish, a good batching session is probably going to take me 45 to 60 minutes to knock out the whole week. So 2 to 3 hours I could do a month, but I just don't like to sit and write social media content for 2 to 3 hours. What it does do is it makes it so that I am not having to open up my phone every day and try to be creative like at 10 a.m. every single day. So I sit down, I put my brain in that mode, I do the batch posting, and then I just set myself reminders that allow me to schedule those posts. Now, as we come to a close, I want to come back to the fact that sometimes content creation can start to feel like a burden. And there's something that feels like you're just remaining faithful when you show up for yourself and your business consistently, even when you can't see the results coming in. Because I will tell you, if you haven't been consistent at social media, it is going to take some time. And we all know that a farmer doesn't plant the seed and then stand over it and wait for it to produce fruit. They plant, they water, they show up the next day, they water again, they remove the weeds, they water again, and at some point, and it's not on a schedule that they have any control over, the plant grows and it produces fruit. And your social media content is very much the same. Because a post you write today may not generate a lead today or even this week, but you're building something. And every useful, honest, specific piece of content that you put out there is a seed that you are planting. Most businesses really shouldn't even be trying to go viral. They don't need to have thousands of followers. You just have to keep showing up, saying things that are true and authentic to you, and be useful to the people that you are trying to serve. Over time, this will compound into something remarkable. If you would like help building your own content system that fits your business, that's grounded in strategy and doesn't require you to feel like you are a full-time content creator, that's exactly the kind of work that we do at Limitless Impact Agency. You can go to our website, limitlessimpactagency.com, to schedule a free strategy session or use the link in the show notes below. And if this episode gave you something that you're going to use this week, even if it's just permission to batch your posts instead of trying to figure it out on a day-to-day basis, please share this episode with one person that you know who needs it. If something landed for you today, I would be so appreciative if you'd share this episode with one person in your world who needs to hear it, because that's how this show will grow. And I am so grateful for every single share that is made. If you're ready to take what you learned today and put it into work to grow your business, I would absolutely love to talk to you. You can use the link in the show notes or visit limitlessimpactagency.com to schedule your free strategy session. We'll figure out exactly where you need to focus first, but until next week, go do something amazing.